Hello and welcome back, and this is video number 4. This video is about my recent purchase of a Surface laptop Copilot Plus PC. I thought I'd just do a quick video on this just to let you know my experience and my thoughts on these devices. Not that anyone's probably going to listen to me, but I've had a bit of frustration with it, shall we say. Some of you may know I bought a Mac 2 years ago or so. It's actually coming up to 2 years now because we're in April. And you know what they say, once you go Mac, you never go back. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's a brilliant device. There are a few nuances that I'm still getting used to. But on the whole, I really enjoy using my Mac as my daily PC. I access work stuff through Windows 365 or AVD, and that gives me access to certain apps that aren't available, or I'll use Parallels. And I've got Windows VM that I use quite frequently on there. So I still use Windows quite a lot, but as a primary device, I'll use my Mac. So I've got Teams natively installed, Outlook natively installed, Word natively installed. All those I run from the Mac when I can. For a work corporate environment, I will always use AVD purely because I want to keep it separate. A lot of you out there will probably use a Mac as your daily device anyway, and you have it fully managed. You know, that's great. I've been playing around with Platform SSO. My view is it's still not quite there yet. I might do a video on my experience with Platform SSO and how I got that set up for my Mac. It was fine, but did I notice anything? Not really. The whole process of it was straightforward. But there are a few quirks and nuances that I just don't understand what would make it a reasonable solution to work for. But again, this is just a single Mac. I've not got Apple Business Manager, so I don't have things enrolled natively through that then can do Intune. So it's very much a one-man shop there in that respect. Anyway, this isn't about Macs, this is about my Surface laptop. So I purchased this a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to see what it was like, and I didn't see what all the hype was about that Copilot key on the PCs. I mean, they sell this as a Copilot Plus PC. And really all it is just a new key on the keyboard that replaces the right menu context key, I think it is, or the right control key, with a Copilot button. And you push that and it'll open Copilot. So I bought the bog standard one, 256 gig RAM, 256 gig hard drive, 16 gig RAM, and the Snapdragon ARM processor, the Snapdragon ARM X processor. I think that's what it's called anyway. So it's a nice looking device. Took it out of the box. I'm not bothered doing an unboxing video. The box is very Apple-like, shall we say? So there's a nice touch there. Very minimalistic. Not as thin as the MacBook Pro box was that I got, but it's like that. It's white. They seem to have cottoned onto that nice, sleek design. Took it out of the box. It was wrapped up in some paper. Took that off and plugged it in, switched it on. And I'll take you through the out-of-box experience just now. Bear in mind, it has Home installed on it by default, which is a bit meh. You buy a business-looking laptop, you would want a decent version of Windows on. But anyway, this is what my video is going to be about. It's the frustration and painstaking process I had to take to get Windows Enterprise installed on. Actually, after some painful process, it was relatively straightforward, but when you buy a device from Microsoft, you would expect the Microsoft OS would install easily enough on there. You'd think. Anyway, let's jump to the straight out of box experience when I actually got it out of the box, and then I'll take you through that process of what I had to do to get it cleanly installed and run Windows Enterprise on there with no other junk. Because there's nothing worse than having a machine that's got all the pre-installed bloatware on there. So here we are in the out-of-box experience on the Surface. Nothing much to it just now. So as you can see, it's got all the languages pre-installed as well. So that's going to add to the bloatware. Let's just continue in English. Yeah. United Kingdom for me. United Kingdom again. Skip additional keyboard layouts. I'm just going to connect to this Wi-Fi. And then just checking for updates. So the standard kind of out-the-box experience you would expect from any new PC. The only thing I find with all of this is the additional languages that will add up space. So as I mentioned, this is only a 256 gig hard drive, so that's going to take up a big chunk of space. I mean, yes, everything's stored on the cloud, and you use files on demand, etc., but when you purchase a device with 256 gig of disk space, you don't want to use it all up on the operating system. So why don't I just pause it just now whilst this is away doing this? And, is it going to finish? Oh, it's going to restart. Yeah, I'll just pause it just now and I'll resume. Now it's restarting. Good old Windows. Yeah, let me just pause it and then we can just pick up once it's finished. So that's it done its first bit. So you get the license agreement. So of course everyone reads this and then they click the accept. And it wants me to give it a name, so let's just call it the Surface. Let's be really original. If I can type. You could skip for now and it gives it its default name. Oh, just a moment. It's going to restart again, I think. So that's it just coming back into Windows again, or the out-of-box experience. And let's see what account it asks me for. So it's going to check for updates. So more than likely it will install a few updates on there as well at the same time. Yep, here we go. So it's going to download and install some Windows updates just on the startup. So, excuse me, that's going to take some time. So again, I'll just pause this just now and we can resume back once it's finished. So that's the device finally updated. It took probably about half an hour all in all. It's quite a slow process. So it now comes up, unlock your Microsoft experience. So let's see what this comes through with. I'm sure it's going to try selling me some more stuff. So if I go to sign in and ask me to sign in with my Microsoft account. So just to show you, if I try and sign in with my Microsoft 365 account, it will come up with saying unable to, more than likely. So yeah, the Microsoft account doesn't exist. So if I sign in with my Hotmail, because that's my Microsoft account, and then got the authenticator app, so 76, excuse me, there you go. So let's add your Microsoft account. So it's now adding my account to this device. So again, I much prefer doing it through the 365 services as opposed to Home, but I've only used Home a handful of times. Do I want to sign in securely with my face? Yes, let's just set it up. Okay, that's me all set, and it'll probably ask me to create a PIN. Yep. So let's set a PIN. I really do struggle typing and talking at the same time. I can't multitask except breathe and talk at the same time, probably. And then it's going to go away and check a few things. Yeah, so it asks for all this location services, etc., etc. So Am I bothered with selecting the opposite to that? Not really, but for this I just thought I'd just say no to most things. So that's for other customizations. It's actually going through the autopilot process is so much better than this, to be honest. So it's determined I've already had this set up. I had some issues with it, so I had to restart it. So I'm going to go to more options and see there's a few PCs I've had. I want to set this up as a new PC. I don't want to recover anything. So are you sure you want to... you won't be able to recover this from backups later. That's absolutely fine. That's good in some ways, but it'd be interesting to see what it actually pulls back with half the time if you're doing a recovery. So it's going to get things ready for me now, and then we'll see what it's like. So let's customize your experience, development, and I don't need to worry about any of this just now, so I'm going to skip that. Use your phone. Oh, yeah, let's just skip this just now. Don't back up my files because I only have like a 1 gig, I think, 5 gig, maybe OneDrive as part of that Microsoft account. I don't want to import anything. Here we go. Your device is even better with Microsoft 365. Would you like to buy it? I think this is really bad. Come on, Microsoft, you can do better. The fact that the continue is already highlighted and it's the one you're going to click on. And if you've got your credit card or whatever associated with your Microsoft account, they'll just go ahead and charge you. So you have to really kind of watch this kind of thing. That's sneaky. No, I don't want the basic either at $1.99 a month. Decline. Yeah, it doesn't give me another option here, but to do next, 5 gigs of cloud storage with my OneDrive. That's actually a really poor experience, I would say. Again, I can now claim that as well. They do that. Claim this with your default selection. No, I just want to skip. That's really, really bad, I think. Personally, I think that's a really, really big mistake for somebody like that to do. And then we have it. That's me signed in. So if I go to settings, let's go to apps, for example, installed apps. So let's have a look to see what's installed by default. So we've got all this. You've got Microsoft Family, Feedback Hub. I mean, look at all the language packs for Office. I mean, I'm not even using Office on this because I said I didn't want it, but it's installed. So again, it's going to want me to pay for that if I need to use it. And it's just, yeah, every single language you can potentially think of, maybe. Same for OneNote as well. But this is where kind of, whenever I get a new device, I don't want this anyway. So I will always create a default image. I say default image. I'll just blast it and put Windows 11 Enterprise on as a clean install. So that's what I'm planning to do next. I'll go through the process I'll show you. I use Rufus to create the image, and we can take it from there. Actually, before I go ahead and blast this with a clean install, I just wanted to show you. So if I go to the computer itself, you can see there it's taken up by about 50 gig of space. So 52.9 gigs used on the device. Now that's an install of Windows out the box when you purchase your device. That's pretty high. Now I know, this has got 16 gig of RAM, so there's probably a 16 gig file, system file, memory file, whatever it's called these days. But still, 52, 53 gigs for a clean install of Windows. Nah, that's not right in my book. You don't need any of this stuff. So again, this will hopefully reduce the size of the image. So to create a bootable USB, there are various ways to do it, but I always use Rufus. I I just find it easier. It's a one-stop shop, and it means it will create the USB with all the right files, and you can boot directly from it. So you go to rufus.ie, which is the website, download it. So I've downloaded the ARM64 because I've got a Silicon processor in the Mac, Snapdragon on the Surface, both the ARM64 version. So I've already downloaded it, so there it is there. If I run it, it's just a standard Windows app, and it asks me to select the ISO. So I've already pre-downloaded my Windows ISO. You can download the ISOs from Microsoft. This one's from my Visual Studio download anyway. But yeah, if you go to Microsoft.com and then do a search for ISO, you can do the image builder, I think it is. And actually, Microsoft do refer to Rufus as well in the web in their website. So there we go, my business editions of Windows 11, 24H2, update March 2025. So let me select that. Not much else to do other than just click start, and it will prompt me for a warning saying you're about to erase everything on this disk. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. So hit OK. This will take probably 15-20 minutes. So whilst this is happening, why don't you go and get yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee? I've got a cup of tea here, and I've also got my rich tea biscuits again. So I'm going to go and have a wee snack with my tea, and I will see you back here shortly. So that's the disk created. That's it there now, so got the information on there. So the next thing to do is plug it into the Surface, change the Surface to boot from USB. I'm hoping my capture card can actually capture the BIOS as well. I think it only seems to work when you're in a Windows session, because it doesn't seem to capture the boot up or anything on there, which is a bit rubbish, I think. Anyway, I'm going to head over to my Surface, plug the USB in, and take it from there. So I went into the BIOS configuration on my Surface. To do that, you need to press the volume up button and the power button at the same time. Release the power button, keep the volume up button pressed just until you see the BIOS. That's what I do. So I changed the boot order. So the Windows boot manager is the primary, and then USB storage is secondary. So I've changed that and booted, but as you can see here, I'm in Windows. So I've got my drive attached. So if I go to here, so you can see my drive listed. There you go. That's there, but it's just not picking anything up. That's not what I wanted. So this is plugged into the USB-A port on the Surface. The Surface has one USB-A and two USB-Cs. So the next thing is, why don't I try and plug it into a USB-C with the adapter? So if I just eject, I'll get a warning saying you didn't eject this safely. So I've got an adapter. Let me just put that in. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's not wanting to go in. There you go. Click. It's in. You can see it now. So if I do a restart, let's see what happens now. Yeah, I'm a bit annoyed that this capture card doesn't actually capture the Surface booting up. So it'll just go to the Elgato screen once that restart window is gone. So yeah, you'll just see the Elgato logo there, whereas I'm seeing the Windows logo, etc., etc. So is this now going to boot from USB? Let's see. Just got the Windows logo up, and I think it's going to come into Windows itself. I may be fooled. Apologies, you're just staring at a blank screen. Yep. So that's me booting into Windows. That's not what I wanted. So I need to go to the second idea of what I had. So I then thought, well, actually, why don't I just run Edge? Why don't I just run setup from the USB drive? So I mean, that's pretty straightforward. I thought that will create a whole new Windows drive, etc., etc. So we can do that. But again, that takes a bit of time. So Rufus didn't work. It didn't boot up from that USB drive. So the only other way to do it is, or there are two other ways. One is you have this Surface IT Toolkit. So let's run this. Just check for updates. I find this a bit stupid sometimes because even with Exchange install, would you like to check for updates? Click yes, it says no updates failed. Even if you are, say, installing CU13 Exchange and CU14's out, it still won't find an update. So this is a imaging tool. So you can create images for your Surface devices from this. I wouldn't recommend using it. Purely from the fact of, let's go to Recovery Tool and let's go to my existing ones. 12.5 gig or 12.7 or 12.2. That's too big for a Windows install, I would say. Again, Microsoft on a Microsoft operating system on a Microsoft hardware, you should not need a 12.5 gig image on there, I'd say. You can create new ones. So if I click back, create new. So you select your device. So it's a Surface laptop 7th edition. Click next. And I want English language, GB. Windows 24H2. Next. And it's Eastern European, available language pack. It doesn't actually let me do anything with these. But what it will do is install all those languages. Even though I've specified English GB, it will install all those languages. Hit next, download the files, which takes an age, and then takes an even longer age to copy to your USB. Not good. So I'm going to kill that. The other way to do it is running the recovery tool. So create a recovery drive. This is running on my Parallels machine again, so not the Surface or anything. So any Windows machine can create a recovery drive. So I don't want backup system files. You don't need to do that. So just create a recovery drive, hit next. And this takes maybe a couple of minutes to run. So again, it says you need to have a drive connected. Yes. Everything on the drive will be removed. Yes, that's fine. Create. And it will format the drive, create partitions, blah, 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 and you are done. The next thing you need to do is copy everything from the Windows 11 CD or DVD. So there's the ISO. I've mounted it onto my computer, and I've actually extracted it into this folder here, Windows 11. Reason being is what you'll find shortly when it's finished is if you go into sources, you have, no you don't have because I've deleted it already. Let's go to the one on the DVD drive. Sources, you have a very large file called install.wim. So that is what holds all the install files for Windows in. So let me just copy it back across to this folder. So that's my DVD USB drive ready. Let me just remove these two files I had in there just now. So it doesn't take too long because it's VM and it's all locally installed and it's a nice fast drive. So, drum roll please, that's it copied. Is it? I was thinking about it. Oh, and that's Explorer crashed on my VM. Happy, happy days. The joys. Right, let's get back to this. Go down here. Nope, not that one. I want to go to Windows 11. Is it it there? Yep, there it is there. So if I now go to my recovery drive, let's open that in a new window. If I go to sources, if I go to copy this, it'll tell me to go away because it's too big. So the easiest way is to use the deployment imaging servicing management tool. So DISM, and split that install WIM into smaller chunks, smaller than 3,800 meg. So if I run that, you can see there it's just created one there, just a couple of 100 meg, but that will shoot up in size shortly. Only takes a few moments to run this one. I won't bother pausing. It's not long at all. I say that and it's going to take forever now. There you go, completed successfully. So there you go. You now have these two files. So I can now delete this one as I don't need them. And it just means I can now copy all this to this drive. So let's go to the root of the drive. Copy. And that's, so it says it's 35 minutes. It takes about 10-15 minutes tops. So I've got yet another cup of tea here. So why don't you go and do the same? I'll pause this and we can come back once it's finished. But once this is done, you then have a bootable USB to boot from your Surface device to hopefully install Windows. One thing I should have added is if you get prompted for overwriting or replacing any files, click replace because you need those files to in order to install Windows. So if you get that message, it'll just come up saying what do you want to do with this file. Any of them, just click replace. So I've put the USB drive into my Surface and booted up from USB, but unfortunately my capture card isn't actually showing the install of it, which is a real pain. Kind of bought that capture card with the anticipation of, well, it just captures any traffic going through the display signal. So why can't it do the Windows startup or the machine startup and the BIOS, etc., etc.? I don't know. So if you know of any devices that can do that, please let me know. But what this device has done is I've put the USB memory drive into the USB-A port on the device. And it's come up with a thing of saying, install driver to show hardware. So first off, Windows install doesn't recognize Microsoft hardware. Second off is the mouse doesn't work. So installing Windows on this Surface, I can't use the mouse. So I thought, oh, that's fine, I'll try the keyboard. The keyboard doesn't work. So that leaves me with very little options. I've got two USB-C adapters, thankfully, but one of those, or one of the two USB-C ports is taken up by the display port, because I'm using that for the capture card, but, well, that's not working anyway, so that's fine. But it's pretty limited. You would think that a Microsoft operating system would have the drivers for a Microsoft hardware on the install. Seriously, Microsoft? Why not? Anyway, that aside, I'm going to try booting from USB-C via one of the adapters and see if that makes any difference now. So I've now put the USB-C adapter in and then plugged the USB memory stick into the USB-C adapter. And I've now booted up to Windows and it's given me a select language. So that's a bit of progress. But again, mouse doesn't work, keyboard doesn't work. So let me just pause this. I'm going to go and grab a cabled mouse and plug that in and see what happens. So I've plugged my USB mouse into the Surface USB-A port. Nothing. Doesn't work. Again, genius. So if I plug it into my other adapter, and as my capture card's not working, let's just plug it into the USB-C. And let's see what happens now once it's plugged in. Oh, I have a mouse. What do you know? So I can now go through the Windows install. So I've hit next. Keyboard input method, United Kingdom. I would like to install Windows 11. I agree, everything will be deleted. It's now getting a few things ready. I want to install Windows 11 Enterprise. Next. And then getting a few things ready. So applicable notice and license terms. Yes, I accept that. Please wait, searching for disks. Getting a bit more progress now. So I've got all my disks listed, so I'm just going to delete all the partitions there. So disk 0 is obviously the 256 gig. I guess it's an NVMe drive in here. Delete. So yeah, it's listed 2 disks. So one of the disks is that USB drive. And if I hit next, that should be me installing now. Yep, so install Windows 11 Enterprise, keep nothing. That's what I wanted. Install. And I'm now installing Windows 11. Seriously, why is installing Windows on a Microsoft hardware such a hardship? It just baffles me. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that, but seriously, there's something wrong there. So from that, I guess we can just pause it just now, and hopefully this will just take its time. So, help if I have my mic. Excuse me. Help if I have my microphone nearby. So that's Windows installed on my Surface. Bear in mind, I had to plug in a USB mouse via the USB-C adapter, and it's now booting up into Windows, but no sound. Mouse doesn't work, or the trackpad doesn't work, and keyboard doesn't work. So again, Windows installed, but can't do much. So is this the right country or region? United Kingdom, yes. Right keyboard layout, so it's gone to US. No, I don't want US, I want United Kingdom. Yes, so I'm having to use my external mouse, which is a real pain. Skip, add additional layout. Let's connect you to a network. Install driver. Great. So again, doesn't recognize the drivers. This is really, really frustrating. How hard is it to install Microsoft operating system on Microsoft hardware? Clearly, it's the hardest. I've never had this much headache installing operating systems on any device before. I mean, I had an issue with one of my old Surface laptops where the keyboard wasn't recognized until I'd run an update. I think it was the keyboard or maybe the mouse. No, keyboard, because I had to plug in an external keyboard for that, so I could actually sign in, because otherwise I couldn't sign in. This just baffles me big time. So what I need to do is use the deployment imaging servicing management tool to basically put the drivers into the image before I install it. So that's the next part. So in order to copy the drivers across, you need to do a couple of things. One is download the drivers from the Microsoft website. So I've made sure I've got the Surface Laptop 7 ARM drivers there. You then want to extract them, and you then want to put them into the image file. So to place them into the image file, you need to use the DISM tool again. Reminds me of the old MDT days. So I've got the file downloaded already, and there's nothing in my extract folder. So I want to extract the contents of this MSI file, which is 4 470 odd meg, and put it into that. So to do that, I need to run terminal, and then I've got the commands here already. Here's one I made earlier, Blue Peter thing. So if I paste that in, so I'm setting the MSI path, so C surface drivers, and then the MSI file, and then the target directory, so where I want it to extract it to. And then I just start the process, MSI exec, and run that. So this looks like it's installing something, but it's not actually installing. It's just extracting. I've never had to do this with Windows 11, even Windows 10, on any device before. Now, I know ARM processors are new, and so there's not that much support, but you would think Microsoft would put the ARM processor drivers within their own operating system. Anyway, that's just a frustration of mine. So if I go into here, you've now got all your Surface drivers. Happy days. So if I go back here, I've got the Windows 11 ISO extracted into here. So if I go to sources, I've got my install.wim file, 5 gigs again, just a single file. What I want to do is mount that so I can see the files, and then I can put the drivers into that image. So I've got a folder here, temp, nothing in there. So to mount it again, you just use the DISM tool. So copy that. So you can see here it says mount the image, and actually there's one thing I need to do here is index 1. So your index is basically which version of Windows do you want to run, and that's, for me, it's the Enterprise. So, there you can see it's populated a load of files in here. So this should finish in a second. You should get like a percentage bar up here shortly. There you go. So it doesn't take too long. So that is effectively what's in that WIM file. And then from that, I want to put the drivers into it. Now, it's not a simple case of copy and paste. There's another command for that. So it's... Have I got that command somewhere? I think I do. Anyway, I'll show you that shortly. Hopefully it'll be in my history. But what you want to do is copy the drivers into that image, and then you mount it, commit those changes, and split the image into 2 files so you can copy it onto a USB drive, and Bob's your uncle. That's the idea, anyway. So that is it mounted. Put it in there. There you go. So that's the command. I thought I had it copied, but I didn't. So it's saying, well, the image is mounted in ctemp. I want to add drivers and add all the drivers from that extract folder. So if I run that now, that will go through. Excuse me. I had air in my mouth. Not that I've got much hair up there. That will go through and now add all the drivers. I think if I'll leave it too late for that. Yeah, it's going to grow. There you go. I mean, it's a fairly large image, just because those files are extracted now as well. I'll ignore that for now. So you can see there's 176 drivers to add in. Doesn't take too long to do it. I mean, you can see it's going through quite quickly. And then after they've been extracted and put into the image file, you just want to check it. So there's a command you run to check So basically you get drivers and then you want to commit the change to the image, and that will unmount it, and you're then ready to copy it across. Almost there. Magic. So that's now done. So if I now paste that one, done it twice, haven't I? So that now we'll go through and get a list of all the third-party drivers from the driver store on that. So yeah, you can just, you've got a camera, you've got another system, an extension. They're there. So all the drivers are there. So the next thing now I want to do is commit the image. Now this can take some time. I think it's about half an hour or so. So you may want to go and get yourself another cup of tea. I've had endless cups of tea today. So yeah, this one just unmount image, and it specifies the directory where the image is mounted, and you want to commit any changes. So if I do that now, that will go away and do that. So whilst that's running, again, we need to create a recovery image, because the one I did before will obviously be linked with the previous one, or actually you could just recopy the files across, but let's just create a new recovery image. So uncheck backup system files to the recovery drive. Next. And yep, I want to do it to that one. Yes, I want to erase everything. And so it's going to format the drive. So that then means this drive is ready for the files to be copied to. But again, the file is going to be too big to copy across because it's over 4 gigs. So we need to split that file up using the DISM tool again. And we say just, you know, each file's 3,800 meg, for example. So that's going to copy, and right, that's done. I'm going to pause just now and we can finish up when my image has been committed. So that's the file finally saved. You can see there, had an error there, but that was just because I had the folder open, so don't worry about that. It saved it successfully. So if I go to my Windows 11 sources, you can see now that that image is 5.6 gig. It was just over 5 gig, so it's 600 meg more, but that's because I've put the drivers in there. So I've got my recovery drive open as well, so that's got everything ready to go. The next thing to do is split the image file up. So I've got that command ready to go. So what I want to do is, again, split the install.wim into smaller chunks. I've just said it needs to be smaller than 3,800 meg because that 5.6 won't copy onto the USB drive. So if I run that, it doesn't take too long to run. And that effectively means I've got it in 2 chunks, and then I can copy everything across onto that USB drive. When it asks me to overwrite anything, I just say yes, because I want to use that enterprise version, not anything that's been there before. So that's completed successfully. So I've got those 2 files. So let me just move this one out of that folder for now, because I don't want to copy that across. Great, so that's gone. So now I want to do all that. So Control C, come across here, and Control V. and it's not going to take too long apparently. But yeah, I'm going to pause this just now. Again, if you get prompted for overwriting anything, just confirm you want to overwrite it, and then we will be good to go to take the drive out and put it into the Surface and hopefully install Windows with all its drivers finally. So that's my Surface powered off. I'm trying it, recording it with my phone balanced on some box or something on my desk. I want to boot this so it starts from USB, so I'm going to press the volume up and the power button, but then keep the volume up button pressed, and that should hopefully go into the BIOS. Yes, it does, and I've got my USB mouse plugged in, so I'm just going to use that, but the trackpad works in the BIOS, so I just want to use USB storage, move that up. All good. So you can see there, hopefully, maybe, got mouse plugged in, USB plugged in, both via USB-C adapters. So if I now exit and restart now, we should hopefully get this to boot into the installer. So even though I've copied the drivers, the trackpad and keyboard on the actual Surface itself will not work still, which is a real pain. So I might have to have a look at that. There may be something in the boot.wim file that's in the image that Microsoft provide as part of the installer for the actual image itself. So it might be worth trying it. But yeah, as you can see here, hopefully I can copy this across into the video. I've got the option now of language settings. So pushing the trackpad, nothing. Tab key, nothing. It's literally just this external mouse. So I want to use US English, United Kingdom, US English, UK English. I want to install Windows, yes, and I will, I agree everything will be removed, including apps and settings. So getting a few things ready. There you go. I want to use Windows 11 Enterprise. Again, getting a few things ready. It's probably going to come up with the disks or applicable notices and license terms. Yes, of course, we all accept the license terms. Disks, here we go. So you've got the recovery drive there, but then all the partitions that were created as the last install. So I want to just delete. Yeah, I'm just going to delete everything and let it create what it needs to create again. And then if I, yep, so that's all good. Next. So creates the partitions here. That's why it pauses. And then we should hopefully go on to ready to install. Well, I can't go back now because I've deleted all the partitions. So you kind of either install or left with an uninstalled device. So next. So this will now go through the install of Windows. I don't think it usually takes too long at this point. It's, yeah, usually pretty quick. So I'll let that do its thing and then come back very shortly when it's finished. So I now have my capture card plugged in via the USB-C, and that's now recording my screen. And look at this, I have a mouse. And do I have a keyboard? I have a keyboard as well. Didn't get any audio when I got the Windows logo when it started up, but well, it's progress. I've used the ENGB version of Windows, but it's still come up with United States as default language. Well, you know, yeah, not everything's perfect, eh? So let's get down to United Kingdom. So I want that region. Yes. This already feels so much better, the fact that I can use my trackpad. So again, if I've set my region to United Kingdom, why don't you default keyboard to United Kingdom? Anyway, no, I don't want to add any additional one. And look, I've got Wi-Fi, so let me just connect to this Wi-Fi. Done. Next. And it's going to do everything it needs to do. So if I just bring this a bit closer to me. Now, I've not registered the hardware hash of this one in my Autopilot just now. So that's probably something I could do. So, Shift function F10. And then in here, if I just go to PowerShell, and then I want to set execution policy remote signed and install dash script get dash Windows Autopilot info. I think I spelled that right. Yes. So you can see there, it's actually asking me for sign in, setting things up for work or school, so I could sign in with my credentials just now. Yes. And yes, I trust that. In fact, just do all. And that's that installed. So if I do get dash Windows Autopilot info, I always set a group tag, most of mine are default, and I want to do this online. This is a little feature I learned a few weeks back, and that basically registers it directly into Intune rather than creating the CSV file, etc., etc. What I do need to do just now, though, is elevate my account for PIM. So I've got the Intune admin. I don't need global admin. You shouldn't be using global admin for all these tasks. Elevate my role to Intune and register that. So if I press enter now, you'll see it will install a few modules. So I'm going to go away and get my account ready. It's set up. I should have done this beforehand, so apologies. And get it registered into Autopilot, and then we'll pick it up from there. So I've got my admin account elevated and all good to go. It timed out, so I'm just going to run that command again. So I'm also using a temporary access pass for my account. Should hopefully sign me in. Yep. So I've used a temporary access pass for this, but effectively what this is doing now is this is going through and checking in Intune to see if A, the device is already registered, and B, if it's not, it will register it. It's just doing exactly the same as what you do if you're doing a CSV file and then you import it into Intune. It'll error out if it's already registered with another tenant, for example. So this can take some time, so I'm just going to pause that now. I think I'm going to give it about 15 minutes because obviously I need to register it with Intune and then let the policy apply to it. But as you can see here, I've just got the bog standard sign in. So the idea moving forward is I should get my own sign in. So I'll just pause now and we can come back later once it's done. So now I've rebooted my machine. I thought I'd give it a reboot after I registered it in Autopilot. I'm now good to go. So if I sign in as my everyday account, it should hopefully ask me, yep. So let's sign in with my passkey. And just thinking about connecting. Yep, so continue. So again, I wouldn't be able to do this if I didn't have the drivers installed, because this uses the Bluetooth, etc., to connect to the device, I believe. That's me connecting now. So again, this is going to go away and do my autopilot-y things, like install software, etc., So this is going to take some time. But I now have a Windows device with just Windows 11 Enterprise installed cleanly, and it's joined to my Autopilot organization. It's going to be enter-joined, and it's what I wanted out the box. I've never had so much issue installing a device before. I think this is the first time I've ever encountered issues like this with a device. Anyway, this takes probably about 20 minutes or so. So I'll leave this be, and I'll give a quick recap and try and keep this video to under an hour. So that's my computer finished with the autopilot process, and I'm now logged in. I mean, I've got some apps installed because that's what I deploy via default with my autopilot. But if I go to Device Manager, there you go. All my devices are installed, so no driver issues there, which is good. Let's go to Explorer. Just curious to see what space this has taken up. 194. So about 43 gig. Look at properties. 43 gig exactly there. So that's 10 gig less than the default install that came when it was out of the box. So that in itself is quite a big chunk, and that's with me installing all my applications. So I've got Office on there, I've got Visual Studio Code, I've got GitHub, I've got Project, I've got Visio, got the Copilot app on there. It's just, there was no need to put all that extra stuff on there. That's what really irks me about some of these deployments sometimes. Anyway, that's me now with a clean install build of Windows 11 Enterprise on my device, and it all seems to be working fine. So hopefully this has helped some of you with your deployment. I know it was a bit of a long way to get here because obviously this video is almost an hour long, so I apologise about that. It was more of me ranting about Microsoft and what they could have done better, I think. Anyway, this sums up video 4, and happy playing around with your Surface if you've watched this to get Windows 11 cleanly installed on there. Thanks for watching. Bye.